Steve, how you doing? Like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, thank you. Looking at Solar Fields this week, artist I really love, and this is the first part of 2, where I'm looking at the sound design, picking things, how they're going to go together, kind of creating the whole thing in session view. And then part 2, we're going to take it over to arrangement, and we're going to look at the mixing down a bit. So let's get to it. You'll notice there are quite a lot of tracks. If I scroll all the way along, we got 28 in total. Now that is an obscene amount of tracks, but some of them do very specific things for the course of it. So the first 4, they are actually tracks that I use to create samples. So I have, you'll see in the sample here, I've got a solo, reverse hat, reverse flute, a radio sound, 2 piano pad sounds, noise space and noise drop. So I use the first one, the shortwave radio, because he uses shortwave radio in the Future Music, is it? Whatever it is, the piece that's on YouTube where he's showing how he creates a track. I thought that was quite interesting. So what I did was I just created 2 analogs, and in each of them, the filter 1 and filter 2 frequency, you can see we've got a lot of jitter on the filters and on there as well. So if I play a note on that, just turn it on. And because I'm using the random LFOs, you're getting quite a lot of interesting things going on with that. So I use that to sample, and I've got 2 noise things with it. Likewise, hats and the flute, which I'll show you in the piece, I just did them, played around with them, reversed them. So the string chorus part, that's actually used as a kind of a solo thing. And I played around with it, and it just kept on jumping around in volume, so I thought I'll just sample it and be done with. So I used tremolator, decapitator, bit warmer, boost and crunch. There's quite a lot going on in a lot of these things, and I use a little bit of reverb as well on it, and then it's got reverb when it's in the piece. So the piano pad came from this. So that arpeggio, if you play it, you can hear that it's going through 2 different reverbs, through a tremolator, through a chorus, through a delay. There's a lot happening to the piece if I turn the effects off. And I've played around with the attack time and whatnot on the grand piano. And this is the grand piano that comes with Ableton as well. So that equates to this pad here. So it's turned that arpeggio completely into a pad. I've just added more reverb with the Valhalla Supermassive, and I put the EQ8 on there just so I could see what was happening. There's nothing in the low frequencies when normally I'd kind of take them off. So you can see it's not taking up a huge amount of the frequency spectrum, but it's a really, really nice sound. And that's taken from what Solar Fields has done on his track where he breaks down everything. So the next track I've got here, this part of it only plays a few notes. I'll play this part so you can hear it. Very, very basic, just a sine wave. And I've got filter drive on the low and high frequency filters, both with the SMP model. Just turn the noise down a little bit with the utility. I've used the saturate on the bit 1 preset. Glue compressor just to catch any peaks and a bit of delay. Very, very simple and basic, but the combination of the filter drives creates a really, really nice sound. So I put an EQ on that so you can see what's happening. So you look at all that, all the harmonic distortion that's happening through the different filter models. So that was just 1 sine wave, so it should just be 1 peak, but that harmonic distortion is creating a lot of nice things going on with it. Next sound I worked on, similar thing there. This is just creating a couple of beeps. I might actually put it onto here so you can hear it properly. So all we've got on this, we've got in between a triangle and a saw, and then we've got a second wave table there which has got a unison on it, and then again we're saturating, we're putting the filter drive on it, we're using the compressor and the delay, very similar to the other piece. A lot of it is all about the filter distortion, the filter drive, and then also I've got 3 sends, all 3 of them on there. One of them's a room verb, one of them's a bigger verb with a Valhalla, and the other one is a ping pong delay set to dotted eighth notes. third track I've got is a deep soul bass. This is a really, really nice sound. I've got 3 wavetables. They've all got the saw on them. We've got a slight detuning on them. Second wavetable, we've got phase sync there on the, and we've got a 2 and a 0. So the phase sync is the unison module. And on the third one, we've got a -2 and a +2, but we've got filter drive on all of them, just creating a really nice messed up sound. And then I used the Glasslow strings pad, and you can see that's coming up. So if I solo that, so that kicks in after the deep soul bass, and it gives it almost like it's a harmonic thing coming up. It's really, really nice. Again, saturate a bit warm. I used a little radiator from the Sound Toys plugin, which gives it a lot of great. I'll play it with and without. It adds a lot of volume as well. It just adds that extra little bit of grit. And again, I've got to go through the room verb and through the delay module. Next thing I've got, because he uses the odd acoustic things just as a sort of antidote to a lot of the really messed up, overdriven things that he's got on, I took 2 harp soft presets, tweaked them a little bit because they're a little bit too harsh, put an arpeggiator on each. They've both got a different arpeggiator on them, so it creates something a little bit different. So I'll solo them. This one's faster, but they've both got the delay on them. And it creates a nice little background thing, and let's say it's an antidote to some of the harsher sounds, so it sounds very, very nice. And then I've got 3 different tracks of rhythm, and I've used exactly the same thing here. I created a drum rack by using the operator randomizer, which you've seen on the other videos, and I just kept on randomizing it till I got some interesting FM sounds. So those sounds are a series of clicks, series of things that sound like hat, kicks and tonal. So if I just a lot of interesting percussion sounds. So on this particular one I used that. So I thought it was a nice click sound. And what I wanted to do with each of these, they're all exactly the same. I wanted to get a bit of syncopation because so what he's got on the music, he's got different rhythms playing, so they kind of interact with each other, but they overlap and change, and it creates a nice polyrhythm thing. So for each of them, all I've done is just balance the sounds. There's nothing else going on there. It was all in the actual sound design process. So if I solo all 3 of these together, and you'll see they're playing in slightly different rhythms. That's a 6-bar loop, that's a 9-bar loop, and that's a 7-bar loop. I've got exactly the same thing happening on this rhythm section. This one's a bit more intense. And on this one here. They're all playing at different sections, and I did actually use the 303 that I created on the last video, and I've used that in several places, but in a slightly tweaking of the sound. So this one I've just used for this one particular thing which I quite like the sound of. It's a bit more techno and it's sort of that hit going on there, but so it's the 303 preset which was in the video, and then I've just EQ'd off the bottom end, and all I'm doing is just putting the one note, and it was just a case of tweaking the knobs, and you can see I put an LFO on the cut off just so it changes slightly each time it's playing. And the kick, this is just a vinyl kick straight from the Ableton sounds, sampled from vinyl, and I like it just as it is, so I just left it there. The next sound, I'm using the Reason Rack plugin. And what I've got on there, I realised how much I actually like the filters on the analog. They're really, really nice, because when I was using the filter on this, sorry Reason, I was kind of really disappointed in it. But I still got a sound I liked, but compared to the filters in analog, it just didn't really cut it for us. I And I've just put that through a warm echo preset on the echo and a little bit of reverb on there. So what we've got is 3 separate, I've oversampled that. They're all, it's a saw, well, 2 saws and a sine wave, just with some different modifiers on, a little bit of filter drive and LFO on the frequency, so it changes the sound a little bit every time it's played. So that's what this sounds like. I'm really pleased with the sound. Just not as keen on the filter as I am with the analogs modelled filters. And then we've got another Reason Rack plugin here. And this is a preset that I did, and this is just me. I've got quite a lot of presets like ambient, big sounding things and Reason. So again, using the Europa synth, you can see I've got a lot of effects going on. I could spend all day going through that. The Parsec, which I really like as well, and then the Korg Monopoly and another Europa. There's a lot going on in that one patch, but these are the 4 different channels. So all those sounds mixed together create a really nice sort of breathy pad type sound. And then I have another 303 sound here. You can see I'm losing quite a lot of LFOs there. So 3 of the parameters are being modulated. And I've got the saturator, a limited just to stop any peaks coming through, tremolo and delay. So it doesn't sound too much like the 303. I've modified it a little bit, and I've got the second oscillator as white noise. So you can hear that kind of coming through in different places depending on where the filter positions are. And then I've got another instance of analog here. Both of the square wave, I'm not doing anything. It's not the 303 preset, but you can see I've got an LFO just on the octave. Just putting it -1 octave and +1 octave, and another one on the filter 1 frequency, just to give a little bit of variation to the sound. I might add a little bit more as we go, but I'm quite happy with it where it is. And my next thing was a bass guitar. Now, I used Reason for this again. And I did that because I think he uses Native Instruments, but on Reason we've got a really nice electric bass module. So for both of those, I actually copied what he uses, which is the Rickenbacker bass. I say copied, I used it. So 2 Rickenbacker basses. I've also got a monotone bass synthesizer on there because if I take that off, that's the monotone bass synth. I felt like it needed something extra. I'll turn it off. So yeah, that bass sounds nice, but adding that monotone, the bass synth on there was just really nice, and I felt it just completed the whole sound. You got a bit of EQ and compression going on within the Reason Rack on that. And then I also had this weird thing that I did with, I think this is the Inspired by Nature pack, this FM thing. So I created an instrument out of it when I first got it, and I thought it sounded nice in here. And it just can be quite random sometimes when it's playing in the way that it creates the sounds, but it's got a really nice feel to it. And it added something nice in the background as well. Then I did this, which didn't quite fit with anything. It's flutes. I've reversed it, and then I've got a pitch hack on it. One of them reversed, one of them not. And I sliced it, and then I'm just playing random slices as it goes there. And I quite liked it as a backing thing, but like I say, it doesn't quite really work with anything, so I'll probably end up creating a section with just that as we go on to it. Now the radio, that is That's part of that shortwave radio thing, and I just did it as an atmospheric thing happening in the background. So you see I've got effects on there, I've got a chain with the pan man. I've just got a dry and wet chain there. So that's throwing it around a little bit. I've got the filter freak, I've got the primal tap, all from the Sound Toys bundle. Got another dotted 8th note delay on there, and the LFO and the feedback of the delay unit using a random LFO, just so it creates again a little bit of variation in what's going on. EQing out the bottom end because I only wanted the high end of it, and a convolution with York Minster Cathedral, just as a throwback to the fact I used to live in York and I like the Minster. Not many to go. So the next thing I did was using that radio frequency sound again and an instance of analog. I wanted to create an instrument out of that shortwave radio thing. So if I turn analog off, it's just the noise. I kind of felt like, let's turn it up a little bit. So I put together an effect chain with the Sound Toys plugins. So we've got Phase Mistress, Little Micro Shift, Echo Boy, Little Alter Boy, Micro Shift, and then the pitch hack from Ableton's putting a little bit of reverse echo there. And I added the amp on a very low setting just to add some grit to it. And the compressor because just to equal out the peaks because it was a bit loud. And then a delay, and the utility because I put the utility end of the chain just to keep the volumes in check. Then I've got the Reason Rack plugin again for another few things. This one is just an arpeggiated sound. It's something I've created. I've got a dual arpeggio over this high bell patch, another dual arpeggio over a high bell patch again, but slightly different arpeggios. And it's going through this BBD delay ensemble, which is one of my favourite Reason Rack plugins. I like the fact you can just throw loads of delays in at it and have all these different delay times happening together. So this is really just for atmosphere. Likewise for the next one as well. Same again with the Reason Rack plugin. I just went to this because I've already got a lot of pre-made things. So it was just nice to get something where I can, again, I've got scales and chords and dual arpeggio, and on this one exactly the same, but they're playing slightly different things. I've got quite a lot actually. I've got echo, I've got the Audiomatic, which I really like as well, and an LFO feeding into the Audiomatic just to create a little bit of variation, so it's not just a static thing with that. So it's the circuit and tape settings on it. I could spend a while going into these, but the video would just be ridiculously long. So again, that's a nice background thing. It just creates this sort of feel in the background. Nearly finished. So here's the operator because I wanted to create something with sine waves, something higher up that was going to just fill in a little bit of the frequency spectrum, something nice to listen to. So all it is an arpeggiated sine wave, nothing happening on the operator, just one single operator playing with the sine wave, and you can see on the delay, and then it goes through a Valhalla Supermassive, which is about 50% there. And you see, as with everything, pretty much everything is going through the same Valhalla room reverb, so it just ties it all together in the same sort of space. So even if I've got a big reverb happening, it's still in that same reverb space for the rest of the instruments. And the last two things were just noise. And you can see with this sample, this is just a sample that I took from that shortwave radio thing. I put a bandpass on it, and I've modulated the filter frequency, the LFO there at 2 Hz, which is quite fast but creates a lot of movement. And with this one, this is a drop. I've just filtered off the low end, and I've done the same thing. It's going through an overdrive unit and going through a Valhalla room. Just a nice background thing. So with everything all together, I basically just set around making a set of scenes. So the bottom two aren't really much. I've got 9 main scenes, and this is what I'm going to use to actually pull together and put into a track when I take over arrangement. So I'll unsolo what I've got there, and I'll just quickly run through. So this is the first one. So a bit of radio. The rhythm happening, deep soul bass. I'll minimise these. And then I got another one with the bass. And the third one. So this is more of a break. Fourth one, almost like a middle eight section. The way I've done this, I've tried to put it into sections because I've noticed he's got quite a few sections of his work. He tends to build from one section to another. So I wanted to create several different sections, so I had a lot of different feels and a lot of things to choose from when it came to putting together the piece. So the next one. Then we've got another one with rhythm. So you can see, though, I'm using a lot of tracks. I'm not actually using everything all at once. Everything's got kind of a different space to be in a different feel to it. This is kind of the same as the previous one, but developed a bit more. So you go from this, and then move into the next section. And then the last two were just things that I played around with on one piece each and thought I'd put something together. Quite like the idea of those three stabs, but I didn't know what else to do with it. And this is just an alternate melodic piece for this part. So everything that I've done here is all just kind of improvised in. I just decided to play something else, copy a few pieces around, move them around, just generally riffing on things, having a bit of a jam with it, and just seeing where it went. So all of it is just kind of like, see where it goes, and then I'll take it over to arrangement view, I'll drag them all in, and then start pulling together a whole piece out of all those different ideas. And I think that's one of the great things about Ableton. It's a unique way of being able to work with it. So join us for part 2. Thank you very much for watching. Again, do like, subscribe. I mean, if you've even bothered to watch this far, I'll catch you on the second bit. See you later.